Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alla and thank you for joining me today. I had a couple requests and I thought I'd just show you what I do for my kids' checklists. I put my copy on a clipboard and I will walk you through how I set these up and exactly what they look like and how we use them in our homeschool. So stick around. So here is my Google Docs. I use Google Docs for my checklists, and you can use whatever program you like as long as you can create a table in that program. I start off by inserting a table, and the way that I determine how many columns is by how many days of school we do, +1 for the columns for the subjects, and the amount of rows depends on how many subjects you want listed on your checklist. I just went ahead and just picked some just to show you how it's set up. I then go by entering in the date column and then Monday through Friday, since we school Monday through Friday. When the columns are first created, they are all uniform and you can go ahead and then play around with the format. I do like to center mine. I changed the font just so that they could all fit. I always like to include the date below the day of the week, just so that there is zero confusion as to what day or what needs to be done on which day. This is not a necessary step, but this is just something that I like to do. I then go ahead and add in the subjects. We always do a row for corrections. That way it gives time for the kids to correct anything that was missed from the previous day. Again, the boxes are uniform when you first insert the table, and you can play around with the font, you can play around with the sizes, things like that to make it all fit. It kind of depends on you. I like to do it as I am setting up the table just so that I can see how it looks and then to make sure that everything fits. Now that I got the table to look how I like, on the left-hand side, I will go ahead and enter in the subjects that my kids are going to be using. Again, this is just a sample, so I entered in Bible, literature, math, history. You can even enter in chores or personal hygiene, anything like that. And so I entered in then spelling, logic, and I was kind of looking at my daughter's example. And so then I start with the first subject and enter in the lesson number that I want them to complete under which day of the week. And this will vary depending on the curriculum you're using. In my daughter's case, and in this example, the Bible curriculum we use is from Masterbooks, and they include a schedule in their curriculum, and that is what I use to put onto the checklist. If that day includes a test or quiz, I will also indicate that on the checklist, and I realize that this helps my kids to see what's coming and they don't feel like they're blindsided. Then I do the same thing for literature, and for literature I actually set up my own schedule. The curriculum didn't come with one, and so I went through and I kind of mapped out what I wanted her to do, and so I dated those by days versus lessons. And the same thing kind of goes for math. She is doing Dive pre-algebra this year, and so they have their lessons mapped out within the website, and so I just go in and I enter in what lesson she should be working on. And this is kind of where I love the checklist, is because if something, she hits a wall, or if something happens, she's not understanding a concept, this is where this checklist is vitally important for us. I'm able to adjust it week to week, and I can enter in and I can move things around and I can add things and take things away, and I can spread it out longer than needed. And so this is absolutely important and vital, and this has been a game changer in our homeschool. Now on the checklist, I like to separate it into two sections. The top section is what is considered independent work, and they work on that while I'm at work. And the bottom part is what they work with me. I merged the cells in one row and I labeled it Work with Mom. Below that section, I then enter in the subjects that they need to do with me. And these subjects are math, grammar, writing, or subjects that they need to check in with me. And those subjects could be literature and history. And this is where they narrate. I can ask questions. We can do follow-up questions. And I found this step to be extremely vital because this is a good way for me to check in with them to see that they are comprehending what they are reading and not just taking their word for it. We have that where it's like, yeah, of course I understand. And then when it comes to the assignment and or quiz, and they had no recollection, they had no retention. And so this is very vital, I think, in making sure that I check in with my kids. And I know that this might seem a bit excessive, but I have found that this is an extremely helpful tool, especially since I work. This step has helped the kids know what I expect from them during our one-on-one time. This helps me to make sure that I'm checking in on them and making sure that I give them time to ask questions, to voice any concerns, maybe even fascinating tidbits that they have discovered that day. This takes out any guesswork on the days where I'm struggling or I'm distracted, and it just really helps move things along. And I have found that once the checklist is set up for the year, I don't really need to tweak it unless there's a big curriculum change or something like that. But for the most part, the checklist is the same throughout the whole year. And the only thing that I have to do is update the lesson numbers and the dates from week to week, which is pretty simple. And now that I've showed you my process of setting up the checklist, I would like to show you the current checklist that I use for my daughter who is in 9th grade. As you can see, I have her name there. I have the week number on there just for my reference. I have the day, the date, and then that is all her curriculum that we are using on the left-hand side, and those are all her lessons. And then we have the check with mom section, and I have that in blue just so it could stand out. They could notice that it's a clear and distinctive line. And then those are the subjects that we do together when we have our one-on-one time. And the main purpose of the checklist is for them to take control of their own education. This has helped my kids stay on track, but it also has helped me as well. In the past, I have used paper planners, and I would make these grand plans for each day. However, I've learned that nothing goes as planned, especially in homeschool. So when one of my kids would get stuck on a concept or got sick or something came up and we had to adjust those plans, my paper planner was rendered useless, really. This checklist was my version of wanting to plan, but then trying to be realistic as well. I update and print the checklist when I do my weekly reset over the weekend, and if for whatever reason a subject wasn't completed, we needed to redo a lesson, or we needed to do extra worksheets, the checklist was easily adapted to the needs of my kids. We only highlight things that are completed, and if they are not, they are simply moved to the next week during my setup session. Here is now a current checklist for my son who is in 6th grade. And the last and final thing that I wanted to mention regarding the checklist is I do like the fact that it is typed versus handwritten. This definitely takes away any guesswork and misunderstandings that a handwritten lesson plan would have. And so my kids really do enjoy it. We have now been using this for about 3 years. Like I said earlier, I do adjust it from year to year according to curriculum, according to expectations of my children. Okay, so here is now a live shot of what the checklist looks like. This is for the week of September 25th through the 29th. And when I come home, this is my copy, and I can show you my daughter's copy. But when I come home, we go ahead and go through anything that she has completed. I highlight off anything that she hasn't. We'll put a box around it to show that that needs to be completed by the end of the day. And so we just go through all of it like this. Today's Tuesday when I'm recording this, and she had math lesson to finish. I couldn't check in with her because her math lesson wasn't done, and she had a Simply Piano app that she had to accomplish. Today she didn't complete the assignment for 7B properly, so I just drew an arrow and said, hey, redo or repeat this assignment here. Obviously, everything is going to shift now. Everything that I have So she's redoing 7B instead of working on to 8. 8 then gets bumped to Thursday, and this gets bumped to Friday, and this one gets bumped to next week. And so when I go in to do my weekly reset for school on Saturday, I know that I have to adjust this, and this is absolutely fine because I'm working at the pace of my child, not the pace of the curriculum. And so in this situation, when something gets bumped, whether it's for a redo or a repeat, whether it's for illness, whether it's for whatever reason, this is so beneficial because I plan according to what my child needs. And so I will show you a previous week. And I do keep all the sheets just because it shows progress. I will put grades on there when my kids have earned a grade for a quiz or an assignment. This one she had a lot of grades on there. And I don't always highlight just because we get busy. Sometimes it's just, you know what, we'll just run this down without highlighting. But the idea is that we then go through this. And I know that week to week it will be very different. Day to day it will be very different. But this is how I utilize a checklist for my children to make sure that they are working independently and then working with me or checking in with me on the assignments that need to be done with me. So now this is my son's, and this is actually his copy. I put theirs on a coil so it's easier for them to locate it. And as you can see, same thing with him. He has the corrections and then all his lessons that he needs to do, and he highlights them as they're done. Again, he doesn't necessarily highlight all the things that he does with me because we're doing them together, and so I know those are done. These is what he does independently, and then he highlights them off. So this is his previous week. Again, as you can see, he is highlighting things as he's going. This is a good visual representation for him and for myself to show what things got done and what didn't get done. And yes, he scribbles all over it. It doesn't matter. If they have any questions, again, we're only week 4 in, so they don't have very many questions yet. As the years progress, they might have more questions. What I tell them to do is circle it, highlight it, put a sticky note, and then when we get down to one-on-one time, we'll sit, we'll discuss, and we'll take care of any questions that they might have. So I hope that helps answer a little bit of your questions regarding what the checklist looks like, how I came about to creating it, and how we use it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. More than happy to send a screenshot of what it looks like, or maybe explain. If you have questions, you can for sure email me. My email is down below. I'm more than happy to help you maybe work through the process of getting something like this set up for your home. This I have found to work for me very well. I guess the downside of that is I do have to print a new one and set it all up on a weekly basis, and I do that every Saturday. Once all the schoolwork is turned in, I do check and grade schoolwork on an evening basis, and so Saturdays I take the time to look over everything. Like this week for my daughter, something got shifted, so for next week I have to make sure I'm paying attention to what lesson she's on to make sure all that is updated for the next week. But it doesn't really take me that long. This is our checklist. If you like this video, please hit the like button, comment down below. If you have questions, concerns, for sure comment down below. I would love to interact with you. Thank you for joining me today, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.